It was the blue, specifically the cerulean blue on the bottom right corner of the canvas. To anyone else, it looked like a masterpiece, a genuine 19th century Monet. But I knew it was a lie. My name is Arthur Blackwood. I have spent 40 years appraising the world's most expensive art. I know the texture of a brushstroke like I know the back of my own hand. And as I lay in my bed, supposedly dying of a mysterious autoimmune disease, staring at the painting my wife had just hung on the wall, I realized the truth. That wasn't my painting. It was a fake, a very expensive, very high-quality fake. My wife, Isabel, smiled at me. She adjusted my pillow. "Rest now, Arthur," she whispered. "You need your strength for the auction next week." She thought I was fading away. She thought the drugs she was slipping into my tea were making me blind. But she made one mistake. She didn't know that 3 years ago, I had placed a microscopic UV mark on every single painting in my collection. And tonight, I was going to turn on the blacklight. It started 6 months ago. I was at the peak of my career. My gallery in London was thriving. My private collection was valued at over $60 million. Then came the tremors. First, my hands started shaking. I couldn't hold a magnifying glass. Then, the fatigue. I would sleep for 14 hours and wake up exhausted. Isabel was an angel, or so everyone said. She hired the best specialists. She cooked my meals. She managed the gallery while I was bedridden. "Don't worry about the inventory, darling," she would say, kissing my forehead. "Focus on getting better." The doctor she hired, Dr. Sterling, told me it was a rare degenerative nerve condition. "There is no cure, Arthur," he said, looking at his clipboard, never meeting my eyes. "We can only manage the pain." I believed them. Why wouldn't I? I signed the papers giving Isabel temporary control of the estate. I signed the power of attorney. I was preparing to die. I was making sure she would be taken care of. I didn't know I was signing my own death warrant. The doubt didn't come from the money. It came from the smell. Oil paint takes decades to fully cure. A painting from 1890 has no scent. It is dry, cracked, ancient. But last Tuesday, when Isabel hung the Van Gogh back in my bedroom after getting it cleaned, I smelled it. Faint, almost imperceptible. Turpentine, fresh varnish. It was the smell of a painting that was weeks old, not centuries. I waited until Isabel went to her yoga class. It took me 10 minutes just to drag my body out of bed. My legs were like lead. I crawled to the wall. I scratched the edge of the frame with my fingernail. The paint was soft. My heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't my Van Gogh. It was a replica. And if this was a fake, what about the others? I dragged myself to the hallway, the Rembrandts, the Turners, the Picassos. I looked closer. The texture was wrong. The aging cracks were too uniform. They were all fakes. Every single piece of art in my house, my life's work, had been swapped. Panic is a strange thing. It can paralyze you, or it can wake you up. For me, it was like a shot of adrenaline. I realized then that I wasn't sick. I was being poisoned. The medicine Dr. Sterling gave me, the herbal tea Isabel insisted I drink 3 times a day, it was all a cocktail to keep me weak, confused, and compliant. I didn't confront her. If I did, she would just increase the dose. She might finish the job before I could prove anything. I needed help. Outside help. I called Julian. Julian was an ex-Interpol agent who specialized in art theft recovery. He owed me a favor from a case in Zurich 10 years ago. "Arthur," he said, his voice shocked, "I heard you were on your deathbed." "I'm not dying, Julian," I whispered, watching the door. "I'm being robbed. I need you to find where the real paintings are going." Julian didn't ask questions. He went to work. 2 days later, he sent me a secure email. Isabel wasn't selling them on the open market. That would be too risky. She was using a shadow broker in Hong Kong. She was selling my originals to private buyers in Russia, in Dubai for cash, pennies on the dollar, and replacing them with high-end forgeries commissioned from a studio in Italy. And the money? It wasn't going into our joint account. It was going into a shell company in the Cayman Islands. A company registered under 2 names, Isabel Blackwood and Dr. Lucas Sterling. Dr. Sterling wasn't just a doctor. He was her lover. I remembered the way they looked at each other when they thought I was asleep, the lingering touches, the whispered conversations in the hallway. I had been so blind, They had planned this perfectly. Step 1, make Arthur sick. Step 2, get power of attorney. Step 3, sell the assets while he's still alive, so it doesn't look like theft after he dies. Step 4, let Arthur die of natural causes and inherit a house full of worthless fakes. It was brilliant, but they had a deadline. Next Friday, the grand charity auction. Isabel had convinced me to auction off the centerpiece of my collection, The Lady in Red, a painting worth $50 million. She told me the proceeds would go to nerve research, to cure people like me. It was a lie. She was going to sell the real painting to a cartel boss in Mexico beforehand and auction the fake one to the public. Once that fake was sold and authenticated by her paid experts, the money would vanish and the real painting would be gone forever. I had 5 days to stop them. I stopped taking the pills immediately. I poured the tea into the potted fern in the corner. By the next morning, the fern was dead. With every missed dose, my strength returned. My hands stopped shaking. My vision cleared. But I had to keep acting. When Isabel came in, I drooled. I stared at the wall. I pretended to hallucinate. "Is that you, Mother?" I asked her, looking past her. She smirked at Dr. Sterling. "He's losing it fast," she said. "Will he be able to stand for the auction?" "We'll give him a stimulant," Sterling said. "Just enough to get him on stage to sign the transfer papers. Then, nature takes its course." I listened to them discuss my murder like they were discussing the weather. I felt a cold rage building in my chest. I texted Julian. "Are we ready?" "The trap is set," he replied. "The real painting is in a shipping container at the docks. We have it under surveillance, but we need her to commit the crime publicly." We needed the auction. The night of the auction was glittering with wealth. The ballroom was packed with collectors from New York, Paris, Tokyo. Isabel pushed my wheelchair onto the stage. She wore a red dress that cost more than my first house. She looked like a grieving, devoted wife. She took the microphone. "My husband Arthur has dedicated his life to art," she said, her voice cracking with fake emotion. "Tonight, he parts with his greatest treasure to help find a cure for the illness that is taking him from me." The crowd applauded. Some wiped away tears. The painting, The Lady in Red, was unveiled. It was magnificent. Or rather, the forgery was magnificent. The bidding started. $10 million. $20 million. It climbed higher and higher. Finally, the gavel fell at $55 million. Isabel beamed. She leaned down to me. "Sign the authentication papers, darling," she whispered. "Then we can go home." She placed the pen in my hand. Dr. Sterling stood nearby, watching like a hawk. I looked at the pen. I looked at the crowd. I looked at the painting. And then I stood up. The gasp in the room was audible. Isabel stumbled back. "Arthur? What?" I didn't look shaky. I didn't look sick. I walked to the microphone. My steps were steady. "Thank you all for coming," I said. My voice was strong. It echoed through the silent hall. "Before we finalize this sale, there is one small detail regarding the provenance of this piece." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a UV flashlight. "Arthur, sit down," Isabel hissed, grabbing my arm. "You're having an episode." I shook her off. 3 years ago, I addressed the crowd, I developed a proprietary invisible ink. I marked every single authentic piece in my collection with my signature. I turned on the UV light. I shone it on the painting. Nothing happened. The canvas remained dark. The crowd murmured. "As you can see," I said calmly, "there is no mark, which means this is a fake." Isabel went pale. "He's lying. He's crazy. Dr. Sterling, sedate him." "And if this is a fake," I continued, ignoring her, "where is the real one?" I pointed to the large screen behind the stage. "Julian, play the feed." The screen lit up. It was a live video from the cargo docks. Police officers were opening a shipping container. Inside, wrapped in protective plastic, was the real Lady in Red. And standing next to it in handcuffs was Isabel's brother, her accomplice in shipping the stolen art. The room erupted in chaos. Isabel tried to run. She made it 3 steps before the security guards blocked her path. Dr. Sterling tried to slip out the back exit, but Julian was waiting for him. I walked over to Isabel. She was shaking now. Real tremors, not fake ones. "Arthur, please," she begged. "I did it for us. We were going to lose the gallery." I leaned in close. "There is no us, Isabel," I whispered. "And by the way, the tea? I haven't drunk it in weeks, but I hope you enjoy the prison coffee." The police led her away in her $10,000 dress. It took 6 months to recover my collection. Isabel and Dr. Sterling are both serving 15-year sentences for attempted murder, grand larceny, and fraud. My health returned, mostly, but the trust, that never comes back. I still work in my gallery. I still love art. But now when I look at a masterpiece, I don't just look at the brushstrokes. I look for what's hidden underneath. Because sometimes the most beautiful things in the world are just well-painted lies. And sometimes the person closest to you is holding the knife, waiting for you to close your eyes. If you enjoyed this story of justice, like and subscribe. Never let your guard down. I'm Arthur. Thank you for watching.